President Bush discusses plans to help Afghanistan. Good evening and welcome to NewsCenter at 9:30. I'm Chad Walling.
And I'm Casey Cavalt. But first, breaking news here in Muncie.
Lights went out in more than 2,000 homes and businesses on the southeast side of Muncie. This happened tonight after a 92-year-old motorist hit a utility pole. The woman was trapped in her car for 25 minutes after the accident at 6:35 p.m. while firefighters made sure the nearby power lines weren't energized. She was not seriously injured. Power was restored after about 2 hours.
President Bush says Afghanistan has the potential to grow to be a strong country. Today, Bush met with Afghanistan's interim leader, Hamid Karzai. CNN's Elaine Quijano has the story.
For the first time since the fall of the Taliban, Afghanistan's new interim leader visited the White House to discuss the future of his country. It's a delicate balance for Hamid Karzai, the head of Afghanistan's interim government. At a meeting with President Bush, Karzai continued to reach out for international support while emphasizing the need to make Afghanistan an independent, self-governing country.
Afghanistan, with your help and the help of other countries, friends, will be strong and will stand eventually on its own feet, and it will be a country that will defend its borders and not allow terrorism to return to it.
Karzai also thanked the U.S. for its help in defeating the Taliban. At the same time, President Bush pledged U.S. support to help rebuild Afghanistan and help train an Afghan military.
The United States will continue to be a friend to the Afghan people in all the challenges that lie ahead.
Earlier, a symbolic moment at the Afghan embassy in Washington, shut down 5 years ago as the Taliban rose to power. Now, a new beginning as the Afghan flag was raised, marking the reopening of the embassy and the reestablishing of diplomatic ties with the U.S.
Karzai is the first Afghan leader to travel to Washington since President John F. Kennedy invited King Zahir Shah in September of 1963.
And meanwhile, the Bush administration responds to criticisms about their handling of the Afghan war detainees being held in Cuba. Bush says the detainees will not be considered prisoners of war. Others, including Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, believe that the prisoners do not deserve POW status. Whatever their status, Bush administration officials say they would still be treated humanely.
The American people and the people around the world will see that we are, A, treating these people very, very humanely, and B, adhering to the principles that we care very, very deeply about.
Some human rights groups have objected to the administration's stance, saying the detainees would be afforded more rights as prisoners of war and would have better living conditions.
More than 100 detainees being held in Guantanamo Bay are Saudi citizens, and the Saudi government wants them back. Prince Nayef told reporters in Riyadh today that the kingdom wants its detainees back so they can be questioned at home under the kingdom's regulations rather than at Guantanamo Bay. U.S. officials have said there is a possibility some of the detainees could be sent back to their homelands, provided their governments are ready to punish them.
And the Pentagon stresses that the assault on a hospital in Kandahar was led by Afghan forces. Officials say U.S. Special Operations troops supported the Afghan forces. However, the Afghans made the decision to launch the attack. 6 al-Qaeda gunmen were killed in the 9-hour assault. Several members of the anti-Taliban Afghan troops were injured, and there were no U.S. injuries.
U.S. officials are trying to get the release of a Wall Street Journal reporter being held in Pakistan. Daniel Pearl is being held hostage by a group on the U.S. list of terrorist organizations.
The United States has been working closely with our friends in Pakistan, and they are putting forth every effort, the intelligence and law enforcement and with their military, to try to resolve the fate of Mr. Pearl. And Secretary Powell will be speaking with General Musharraf this morning to express appreciation for those efforts.
The group has accused the reporter of being a CIA officer and demands that Pakistani fighters held in Cuba be sent home. The reporter has been missing since Wednesday.
And Pentagon officials have no further explanation of how 2 U.S. Navy vessels collided. The wreck took place off the coast of Oman in the Arabian Sea. Rear Admiral John Stufflebeam says the 2 vessels were transferring crew members when they bumped into each other. The USS Ogden's fuel tank was punctured. The other submarine was the USS Greenville, which is the U.S. vessel involved in sinking the Japanese fishing ship last February. There's no indication which craft might have been at fault. No one was hurt, and a thorough investigation is underway.
President Bush is supporting Vice President Cheney in his refusal to release information regarding his contacts with Enron officials. The reason? The president says his ability to hold private talks on crucial policy matters is at stake. He also added that he'll never receive good advice from his consultants if their words are always being seen by the public. Cheney admits to meeting with Enron executives to discuss the energy policy, but refuses to release any details to the General Accounting Office, which is the investigative branch of Congress. Some lawmakers agree that the public has a right to know if Enron asked for or obtained favors from the administration before it went under. The White House is receiving some pressure to provide the names of those business executives who met with him and the vice president.
And a federal grand jury has indicted a Central Indiana man. 44-year-old Brian Seifert of Fishers made a false tip to the FBI last October. He told agents that terrorists were planning to drive fuel trucks into schools, churches, and shopping malls. U.S. Attorney Susan Brooks says that government officials took Seifert's tip seriously and even briefed Vice President Dick Cheney about it. Agencies across the country spent 6 weeks investigating the claim, costing taxpayers about $100,000. Seifert is charged with making a false statement to federal law enforcement agents.
So Ryan, what about that weather? It looked like spring break out there today.
You know, it's been just a beautiful last couple of days. Normally, we saw a high of 62 degrees today. Normally, we don't see 62 until about April 19th. Just an absolutely beautiful day out there today. Unfortunately, it looks like the rug's going to get pulled out from under us a little bit later on this week. When's that cold weather coming? Stick around. I'll let you know a little bit later on.
Okay, thanks. And housing rates will increase next fall. Find out how much when we return.
And the movie Blazing Saddles made a comeback at Ball State. Stick around for these stories and more.
Students living in residence halls next year will pay an extra $446.
That's right. NewsCenter's Elliot McKenna spoke to people on campus today to find out more about the room and board price hike.
Students returning to the residence halls will see an increase of over 8% in the room and board bill for the 2002-2003 school year. Ball State officials say the raise is necessary to provide students the improvements they want. Director of Housing and Residence Life, Alan Hargrave, says his department wants to improve internet service, dining services, and residence hall facilities.
All of those are more expensive to provide, and unless students really want a curtailment of these kinds of services, then we'll have to raise our rates as our costs increase.
The university is developing a 15-year renovation plan. Freshman Chris Salty says he wouldn't mind paying the extra for improvements.
So if they're going to hike up the prices, I guess that's a logical thing to do, is to fix some of the building.
Some students I talked to today, like freshman Adam Trent, are a little skeptical whether the hike in room and board will be worth it.
I don't think that they will personally affect me, but if they did, then, you know, I'd say I'd be willing to pay the $500 if I got something out of it.
Hargrave says the university has tried to raise rates in the most ethical way.
That's why we've tried to be very cautious to not raise room and board rates more than we think that we absolutely have to in order to meet the increased cost and to be able to make sure our facilities are in good shape for many, many years to come.
And for those students living in university apartments, they will see a smaller increase. And students will be on their second year on the premium plan, will not see any raise in their fees.
The Dystonia Medical Research Foundation has joined with the Alumni Center to host the second annual Jail and Bail fundraiser. Dystonia is a genetic disorder and a precursor for Parkinson's disease. Jail and Bail was created to raise money and awareness for dystonia research. In the event, students collect $10 in donations in order to jail other students or faculty. The imprisoned person will be arrested and taken to a fake jail at the Alumni Center. Once the prisoner collects $20 from donors, he or she will be released. The deadline to sign up ends Wednesday at 5 p.m. If you're interested in getting an application for Jail and Bail, you can visit the website shown on your screen. And for more information on dystonia, visit dystonia-foundation.org. We'll have the information again for you later on in the newscast.
And Ball State has decided to delay construction on the Music International building. Construction bids exceeded university estimates of $19 million. University officials say minor changes will be made to the plans to reduce the cost. Construction is planned to begin in April.
What do you do with 11 acres of contaminated land? That's what Kokomo development officials are asking. Property that General Motors donated in 1998 is contaminated with toxic chemicals. Howard County officials say they didn't know about the problem before accepting the donation. Soil and water tests will continue on the former Delphi-Delco plant site. And Ball State's Film Series Committee is helping students find something to do on the campus.
NewsCenter reporter Stacey Williams joins us live at the news desk with more. Stacey?
This semester at Purvis Hall, the University Film Series will bring a variety of popular films suitable for Ball State students. Since 1987, students have been coming to this film series at Ball State to experience movies they would have otherwise not seen. Some films were either before their times or not brought to Indiana. The film tonight was the comedy satire Blazing Saddles by Mel Brooks. There are several films being shown this semester that may provide some relaxation during study time and make your stay at Ball State more entertaining.
And here are tomorrow's headlines for the Ball State Daily News. The deadline for charter school applications ended today. The Ball State International Direction has returned from 2 weeks in Africa, and a new restaurant will open on McGallard Road tomorrow. Read about these stories and more tomorrow in the Ball State Daily News. And we're going to begin with Ryan for the weather. And Ryan, I saw a lot of guys wearing shorts out there today. Is this going to happen tomorrow?
Well, unfortunately, probably not unless you're pretty thick-skinned. How low is it going to get? Stick around. I'll let you know after the break.
Okay.
Well, good evening and welcome back to News Center 43. Let's go ahead and start you off with a look at the weather almanac for today. Great day out there. A full 30 degrees above our normal high of 32. Coming in at 62 degrees. Normally only 16 degrees for low. Came in well above that at 41 today too. If you'd like to get up to see the sunrise tomorrow morning, you should be heading outside at about 7:53 in the morning. Sunset should be at about 5:57. If we go ahead and go on to our next slide now, we can take a look at some of the highs from around the state. 64 in Indianapolis, Terre Haute, and Lafayette, respectively. 68 down there in Evansville. Must have been a really great day down there. 58 up there in South Bend. Currently, we've got clear skies, but those clouds, they are coming. 55 degrees out there. Currently, humidity is kind of sticking around there at 69% with wind out of the southwest at 10 miles an hour. Here's a look at the national satellite right now. There's Indiana, as you can see, tucked in there. Absolutely no clouds over us right now, but all these clouds out there to our west should be coming in over the next couple of days, and really we're not expecting to see a whole lot of sun. And in fact, let's go ahead and zoom in right there on Indiana. You can see that, like I said, Indiana is pretty much clear for the most part, except for the southeastern part and up there around Gary, Lafayette area. But like I said, all of those clouds will be moving in over the next couple of hours. Here's the precipitation around the entire nation. Really not much going on, just some very light precipitation up there around Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, and even some rain out there in California. Other than that, it doesn't look like there's anything to worry about tonight, but here in central Indiana, we do have some stuff to worry about over the next couple days. So tonight, this cold front here is going to kind of partly start to move down over us. This dome of high pressure down here is going to kind of tell it to back off, which is going to slow it down a little bit. Some snow up here that I just told you about, that we shouldn't have to worry about until probably Saturday due to the speed that this is going to come to us. And in fact, if we go ahead and go on to our next slide now, here's some of the lows for around the nation tonight. 40s throughout much of Indiana, some 30s to our south, some 50s down there to the north, or down there to the south, and even some 60s down across parts of Texas. Tonight here in Muncie, look to have some cloudy skies out there for the most part, a low of 37 degrees with winds out of the southwest, at 11 miles an hour. Tomorrow morning, well, the sun's going to try to come out. Don't think it's going to make it out there too much, though. Look for mostly cloudy skies. Temperature of 39 degrees, though, with winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. Probably going to need that jacket for tomorrow. For tomorrow, this cold front is going to move down across us, bringing some rain over in the overnight hours. So during the day, you should be fine. However, if you're headed out later, take a jacket and maybe even an umbrella. This graphic right here shows you that some 50s to our south tomorrow, 40s here in Muncie, and even some 70s down there across Florida and Texas. Should be a great day down there. Tomorrow, look for some clouds with some rain at night, high of 50 degrees with wind out of the west at 10 miles an hour. And guys, take a look at that NewsCenter 43 official 3-day forecast. I hate to do it to you, but Wednesday, it looks like we could see some rain. Looks like we have a 50% chance of some snow coming in back on Thursday. And then it's going to be 28 degrees but clear on Friday.
Goodness. How about change? Everything's changing. One day you have shorts, the next day you have an umbrella, then bringing out your snowsuit.
Sorry, Chad,
It's
no
not
more shorts
fair.
for a while.
That's fine. Thanks a lot, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
We're now joined at the news desk with Ryan with sports. Quite a bit of Ball State basketball action going on.
That's right. The men's team didn't fare so good this weekend, but the women's team did a little better, and we'll be back with that and more after the break. On Saturday, the Ball State men's basketball team fell just short of keeping their winning streak alive with a tough loss to Miami. The Cards were trailing at halftime 35-49, but managed to stage a comeback and had a chance to tie with a deep Rob Robbins three. Theron Smith finished the night with 20 points, but the Red Hawks were able to keep him from completing his 7th double-double in a row. Coach Buckley placed blame on poor foul shooting. The team only shot 44% from the line. Other players coming up big on Saturday were Petey Jackson with 18 points, Chris Williams with 15, and senior Brian Burns chipped in with 10 points. The Cards will face the Marshall Thundering Herd on Tuesday night, trying to get back on the right track. Tip-off is set at 7:30 p.m. Also in Ball State basketball move, the Lady Cardinals faced off with Western and bucked the Broncos to an easy 85-73 road victory this weekend. Amy Fuller had a career-high 20 points to ignite an already fired-up Ball State team. Bowie, Cook, Goff, and Endress all took their shots at Western Michigan, all scoring in double figures. After a slow start, with sophomore Jessica Ryder in foul trouble and a halftime deficit, the women picked it up the pace and knocked back 11 three-pointers as they ran away with the game. The team continues on the road with their 14-4 record as they take on Miami Wednesday. Tip-off is at 4 o'clock. Also, for the first time in her career, Ball State's Amy Fuller is this week's MAC West Division Co-Player of the Week, sharing the honor with Eastern Michigan's Shani Charles. Fuller, a senior center, averaged 16 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 2.5 steals per contest while shooting a blistering 74% from the field. Fuller had 20 points and grabbed 7 rebounds in the Cardinals' win over then division-leading Western Michigan. She opened the second half by scoring the team's first 9 points, then sparked a late 9-0 run with a three-pointer. Earlier in the week, she had 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 steals against Akron. 2 teams came up victorious this weekend in their conference championships and earned themselves a spot in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. On Sunday, the New England Patriots knocked off the Steelers 24-17. Patriots starting quarterback Tom Brady was injured late in the first half, but the Pats had a pretty good backup to pick right up where Brady left off in Drew Bledsoe. New England coach Bill Belichick says that Wednesday he'll announce his starting quarterback for Sunday's big game. Brady showed no signs of injury when he left the plane today in New Orleans. Also, the Rams defeated the Eagles 29-24 after trailing at the half by relying on the legs of Marshall Faulk as he rushed for a playoff high of 159 yards, while the high-powered Rams air attack took a back seat. The Patriots are going to have to bring some defense as they take on the point-scoring prowess of the St. Louis Rams in the Super Bowl. Both teams arrived in New Orleans today, and kickoff is set for Sunday at 6:20 p.m. In Gainesville, Florida, 83-year-old Baseball Hall of Famer Ted Williams was released from the hospital today. Williams was released after being admitted last week with flu-like symptoms that included high fever and low blood pressure. A hospital statement says he'll require at-home kidney dialysis treatment. Williams had a series of strokes and congestive heart failure. He had open heart surgery 1 year ago, 2 months after receiving a pacemaker. Also, Indiana Pacers head coach Isaiah Thomas hopes to find out tomorrow if Jamal Tinsley will be able to play this week. The rookie point guard left Saturday's game against Seattle when he aggravated a hip injury that had been bothering him for weeks. Tinsley didn't practice with the rest of the Pacers today. Coach Isaiah Thomas isn't sure whether he will move Jalen Rose to the point or bring in reserve Travis Best to run the show if Tinsley can't play. The Pacers have been hit by the injury bug lately, losing Al Harrington for the rest of the season with a torn knee ligament, and Jermaine O'Neal missed 7 games recently with injuries. The Pacers will host Memphis on Wednesday and New York on Friday.
So, Jason, you ready for that Super Bowl?
I'm ready. I think it should be a pretty good game.
So did your team get in there?
Nah, not my team this year, but...
Oh, man.
Who do you think has a better chance this weekend, the Patriots or the Rams?
Well, I think it could really go any way, just depending on how everything works out.
Sounds pretty good.
I don't know which team to vote for because I don't really watch football. How about you?
Coming up after the break, Ryan Miller will be with one of our last temperature forecasts.
Stay tuned.
How about a look at the weather?
Hey, I can do that. Today we had an absolutely beautiful day. 62 degrees up there, but tonight it's going to cool off quite a bit. The clouds are also going to come in a low of 37. Tomorrow morning, looks like we should see partly cloudy skies with about a temperature of about 39, so you'll probably need a jacket. Tomorrow in the afternoon, though, look for all of the sky to go away, covered up by clouds. Rain should be coming in sometime at night, high of 50 degrees. And for that NewsCenter 43 official 3-day outlook, on Wednesday, look to see some rain, maybe even some sleet, depending on how late it goes. Thursday, we've got about a 50% chance of snow, high of 37, low of 28. But then on Friday, it really gets cool, low of 13 degrees, but the sun should be out all day long.
All right.
Sounds pretty good.
Sounds okay then. Thanks, Ryan. You might not want to get too close to Janice McKenzie, at least not last summer when she was a volunteer in the stinky shirt test. The chemical engineering student wore the same long-sleeve top for 5 straight days of backpacking to see how smelly it would get. Scientists at Montana State University wanted to compare bacterial growth in wool to synthetic fibers. Wool won, but deodorant probably would help a little bit too.
And a German lawyer turned fashion designer has proven that inspiration can come from anywhere. Even when you are sitting on Gisela Seppler says her latest creations were inspired by the fabric on Berlin bus seats. The ideas for these new creations came to her while she was sitting on a bus on her way to work. And thank you very much for joining us for NewsCenter at 9:30. I'm Chad Walling.
And I'm Casey Cavalt. NewsCenter 43 is an official CNN student bureau. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for NewsCenter at 5:30. And here's the information again for the jail and bail. Have a good evening. What was that he gave?